Okay, there we go. What's up with it, bro?
What's going on, man? What's going on, brother?
Man, I'm just out here living a dream, man. What's up with it?
Man, I'm sitting here excited, just thinking about, being able to jump on here with you, man, and just talk about our stories, right? And understand that it's a blessing to be able to get on this live and people be interested in your life and what you've been through, and understanding that my tongue, your tongue is tied to somebody else's
Yeah.
deliverance. So we got to open our mouths. And I'm just excited about that, bruh. And I'm just ready to just get into it, man. I know it's going to be crazy. I know it's going to get deep. Might be some tears, might be some silence, but hey, let's get to it, right? And then as you was talking, I know I
Come
got it
on,
too, bro.
man.
I got it too,
One of
bro.
my favorite books, dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what's up, man. Well, listen, man, I'm excited, man. I invited some of my fellas, man, from Clubhouse. Because before I got on here with you, of course, man, I do a lot of business and a lot of
Mhm.
community service and stuff like that, man. But my heart kind of shifted, man, to just kind of talking about vulnerability and mental
Mhm.
health and the importance of mentorship and friendship and that type of stuff, man. Because I'm gonna set the tone by saying I believe that if you do not deal with your childhood trauma, it will hinder you in leveling up. All right. It's going to stop you from being able to be as great as you possibly can. So listen, guys, before we get started, do me a favor. Y'all share this out to as many people as you possibly can. It's about to be an amazing conversation. I got Mr. I Am 20 in the building with us today, man. You see, man, the brother was in the gym yesterday, and so he was working out, getting ready for the night
Yes,
because it's
sir. Yes,
about to
sir.
go down. What's up, Michelle? So, Carlton, do me a favor, man. Tell the people, just kind of do a small introduction about who you are. And, man, I got a couple of questions for you, man, and we're going to get straight down
Okay.
to it.
Well, man, my name is Carlton Young. Most of my good friends call me CY or Cy. Cat from Birmingham, Alabama. Went to HBCU for a good minute, and then I left and went to the military. Got out in the military. Moved to Dallas. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I'm an only child now. I'm a friend, and I'm just somebody, man, who is fortunate enough to still be on this earth. And I'm tired of playing with my gift, right? And so just somebody who's trying to do what God has placed me here to do,
Yeah.
and understanding that all the trauma that I went through in the past, it was the enemy's ploy to keep me off course, to reroute my GPS, to reroute my destination. So now that I'm, rooted and grounded in God, man, I'm just here to help people, man. I'm a, I'm a loyal friend. I'm a, hey, I'm a plethora of things, but more so than anything, I'm just a grateful man because I get another day, and I've been able to stack some days that, when you hear my story, you be like, ain't no way this brother should still be here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what, man? There's a saying, man, that oftentimes people don't look like what they've been through.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, it was the first time that I had heard when you talked about it yesterday that you had been through some things that could have taken your life away. So I
Yes,
want
sir.
I want to open up with just talking about maybe some of those dark days and how you overcame that. It might give you opportunity to kind of share that part of the story, man, and then we go dig deep into some other stuff, man.
Okay. So I'm no different than a lot of us, right? I grew up to a teenage mom who did not know my biological father. I often thought that did not impact me, but it did. It definitely impacted the way that I moved in my young adult life and even in my later adult life, right? And just like you said, if you don't deal with your trauma will deal with you, and you're going to look for release in people, places, and things.
Yeah.
And those people and places and things usually aren't what's good for you. So I'm just a knucklehead, stayed in trouble, never applied myself. They always told me there was something in me, but I didn't want any parts of that, right? I was prophesied that I was going to be in the ministry. I was going to do this. Nah, son, I want no parts of that. So I had my Jonah season where I just continually tried to run and do my own thing. I've literally overcome 4 assassination attempts on my life.
Wow.
First, I fell out of a moving car at the age of 12, turning in the street. It's just by the grace of God that no car was behind me, but literally it's like somebody opened the door as we were in the turning lane. I fell out, fell on my face, and this is in a major intersection.
Wow.
No car behind me. Next thing, we're in Montana. My mom is in the choir. we're going to a choir competition because my stepdad was in the Air Force. We literally are on our way to Billings, Montana, where Montana State was, the Bobcats. And it's this place called Rogers Pass. It's the highest peak in Montana. And it literally has no guardrail. It started snowing and sleeting, and that van started sliding to the edge of the cliff. And if people say there's power in the name of Jesus, everybody in that van was screaming Jesus, and that van stopped within a foot at the edge of the cliff. If that van rolls off the cliff, we still down there. Our bones are still down there. We're some dry bones in the valley.
Come on.
So that was the second time. Third time, coming home, I'm in the military, coming from home from the club, wilding out, doing what we do, right? I go to sleep in the back seat. My other partner in the front seat. My other partner, he driving. He not supposed to be drinking. Next thing I wake up, I thought I woke up dead, bro. Literally. I remember laying down in the back of the car, and then I remember waking up with a bright light shining in my face. Now, mind you, I had been drinking. We're at this club in San Jose called DB Cooper's, which was kind of popping back in the days. I'm a little bit older, so Jerry Rice, and then we'll be in the spot, Ricky Waters. And so when we wake up, I wake up, come to find out we ran into the back of an 18-wheeler, and literally the entire top end of that car was smashed in.
Wow.
Literally, it's one of them two dudes in the front didn't get decapitated. Yeah. That bad. Me being a clown, I get up, get out the hospital, go right back to the NCO club, doing the same thing. And then the final thing was getting shot at point blank range in the stomach. Literally, saw the gun point at me. Don't point that gun. Bow. A couple seconds later, I feel the burning, the sensation, and the intense pain. I'm laying down. My partners, they run towards me. Hey, see why they got shot? Young, they got shot. Call the ambulance, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to just go to sleep because the pain is so intense. And they slapping me, telling me to wake up, da, 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 da. The last thing I remember was getting in the ambulance, and they cut that jersey off me. I had a Dallas Stars hockey jersey on. I'm dating myself. Some Jabot jeans.
Wow. You definitely dating
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. And I remember that's the last thing I remember, the ambulance, them putting that oxygen on me. Next thing I know, I wake up with all type of tubes in me. I literally had morphine intravenously so I could pump myself of it every time I got an intense pain. So I would just be up for a minute, go back to sleep. But I woke up, I saw my dad over there praying, speaking in tongues, that I came out. 2 more surgeries. I had to remove a blood clot from my lung. They couldn't remove the bullet because the bullet was lodged too close to my spine, and they said they were worried about me being paralyzed. So this is my course. This is my story. I tell people, when you have the enemy is trying to stop you from being who God has designed you to be, he's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you.
Yeah.
But best believe when you survive, it's for a reason. And when you survive, you got to get to whatever it is that God has called you to do. You might not be you might not be in the church. You might just have a ministry in the marketplace.
Yeah.
You might just walk around, going around telling your story. But when God has blessed you to be here, know that it's for a reason, because you have survived 100% of your bad days if you woke up today. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. Still was crazy, still made a lot of mistakes as a man, that has not dealt with his trauma. Like I said, I buried that rejection, right? And there's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Where it talks about your psychological needs, your safety needs, your all the needs that you have growing up. And if you don't get any of those needs met, right, where you end up becoming trying to make up for it in your adulthood. And until you deal with that trauma, right, you'll never ever be able to be right. Prayer can change things, but also counseling helps, right? God put the counselors here for a reason, so that he can continue the deliverance cycle, because a lot of us will not be instantly delivered of what we're dealing with. And that's the fallacy that a lot of people in church tell you, come to God, your life is going to be perfect. Nah, bro, you still got them same demons.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It talks about your psychological needs, your safety needs, your love and belonging needs, and your esteem needs. So it's the four needs that every person has. Somebody asks about what is it called again. So it's the four needs that you have, and if they're not met by the time you're 13 or 14, until you deal with that, you're going to spend a lot of your life trying to make up for it. So that's kind of a quick story of kind of where I'm at, where I've been, and one reason why I have such a passion for the fellas, because we are the hardest to crack. We've been taught you cannot cry. You can't if you cry, you're soft. If you're vulnerable, you're soft. And what we're doing is we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're carrying so much stress and weight that we were designed to carry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're weighted down and we're killing ourselves and we're dying early, drinking ourselves to death, smoking ourselves to death, sexing ourselves to death. All these things that we're doing that we if we allow ourselves to be healed in totality, right? Panoramically let us God heal us, right? And not a glimpse of healing, then we can become whole. Because I often say, and I think she said, one of y'all said it last night, God cannot bless who you post, POST, to be. God will only bless who you are supposed to be. So a
Yeah.
lot of us post inauthentic, inauthenticity, trying to hide the trauma, the pain, the triggers. And all we're doing is we're living in the tombs like that man that Jesus delivered and casting pigs into the sea. So a lot of us need to come from among the tombs so that we can be delivered, set free, and then we can begin a life of zen, a life of peace, and a life of abundance that God has said we can have, like a John 10:10 life. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be a multimillionaire. It means a life of abundance, an abundance of love, an abundance of peace, abundance of friendship, all those things, right?
Yeah. So I got, I got a couple of questions for you, man. But I want to go back to that trying to sex yourself to death because I don't know how you do that. But what's up with that later?
I already know.
Yeah, because I got stuck there for a minute. But let's go
Right.
back to something else you said, man. I was having a conversation with some brothers today, and let me just start off by saying I'm so glad you survived, right? But I
Thank
want
you.
to talk. I want you to talk on that real quick because I told some brothers today. I said, man, the Bible says that many are called, but few are chosen.
Hmm.
And I think that when you are chosen by God, no matter what weapon the enemy uses against you, man, you're gonna survive that. But
Hmm.
part of that survival also requires submission,
Yep.
submitting to the purpose that God has for you. Um, can you talk about that, man? Because it sounds like you was a knucklehead. Sound like you was in them streets. You was in the club. I know you was in the streets if you was wearing Jabot jeans. Okay. First of all, I'm gonna edit that out. Never say that again.
Hey, it was
But talk about
hot back in
how.
the days, though, bro.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I got it. All right. But I want to protect you, brother. I don't want folks to know. That's kind of. Anyway, I want you to talk about why do you believe God kept you through all of the attempts that the enemy took out in your life? What was it about you that you're still here and that you're a survivor?
I think it's honestly, there's two things, right? We know that God is sovereign in everything, but he's also a God of free will. So I believe that free will and sovereignty run parallel tracks. And when God, he can step out of time, he can look from the beginning to the middle to the end. And when he knows that you will choose him,
Mm,
he will begin to predestine your life and allow you to survive some things that other people may not have survived because they may not have chose God. We don't know, right? And we don't know where people are at when their time is up. We get a glimpse of what people want us to see, but God, no, he said, man looks on the outward, God looks at the heart. So
that's right.
God can look at our hearts and say, okay, this young man at some point he gonna be a soldier for me, just like he a soldier in these streets. And I know I can count on him to go to war for me. And and I know that at this time he's gonna choose me, and it's gonna be the appointed time, right? A lot of times we think of things in chronological order. God does not work on chronological time. He works in Kairos timing. You know what Kairos is? Kairos is the opportune time. So God says at the opportune time, he's going to do what I've called him to do. Because a lot of, like you said, many are called, but few are chosen. I think that the ones that are chosen is they make the choice.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Chat, somebody put a fire emoji in the chat for me. Chat, can you quote that? You know you chosen because you made the choice. I like that. I like that. You know you're chosen because you made the choice. Guys, listen, y'all share this out. I'm telling y'all, we just getting started. I got some questions for this brother who has leveled up. We know he's leveled up, number one, because he's still living. Because the enemy tried to take this brother out. Uh, he ain't wearing Jabot jeans no more. He ain't going to the juke joint. He ain't in Montana, so he done leveled up. He in the big metropolitan city now, and he doing his thing. Y'all, it's about to go down. Listen, Carl. So let me ask you a question, man. So you talked about vulnerability.
Hmm.
How important is vulnerability to a person that wants to level up in their life, go to the next level, elevate to the next dimension? How significant is vulnerability to you?
I think it's paramount, right? Because again, we're talking about being authentic with God. It was crazy when I think about I knew my issues and I still tried to fool God because God already knew my issues, but I would never admit my issues to God. So in essence, I'm trying to fool God and make him think that I'm not where I'm at.
Mm.
So vulnerability, right, is just opening up and it's being completely like draining yourself and releasing yourself of all the trauma, all the pain, all the hurt that you've been through, right? Because I believe that that's where the devil does his best work is if you're not strong enough and you're isolated, that's when you go to the tombs, right?
Mm.
And that's when you start to drink in isolation. That's when you start to do things that are not conducive and not beneficial for you to level up and become the man or woman that you desire. So just being vulnerable and finding the right people that you can be vulnerable with, right? You can't share everything with everybody. You can't tell everybody your full testimony, but there are some people that you should have in your life. And if you don't, ask God to lead them to you so you can have a circle of people that you can be your real self with that can walk you through some issues that you can't share with everybody else and still look at you as a person that they are. I mean, the person that God sees you to be. See, a lot of times the issue is people don't see us as God sees us because they don't see themselves as God sees them.
That's good. Say that again. People don't see us as God sees us because they don't see themselves as God sees them.
Exactly. So they may be broken, they may be fragmented, they may be
Mm.
hurt, they may be dealing with trauma and stress, but they cannot forgive themselves for that, and they don't think that they're worthy. So in essence, you're not worthy either because you've done something that I know, or if I tell you what I've done, now you're in the same boat as me. So neither one of us are good enough, and it's just a trick of the enemy to keep us bound and have us burdened down to make us think that what you've done is not redeemable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable
Yeah.
is saying, I want to be redeemed.
Yeah.
I no longer am hiding and fighting myself. I no longer am lying to myself, lying to God, and lying to the world. I'm broken. I'm a mess. I make dumb mistakes. I've done so many things that I'm ashamed of. But God, you said in your word that you forgive me, you'll never leave me, you'll never forsake me, and that you would take my sins and throw them in the sea of forgetfulness. So no matter what anybody has done on this live that you are not proud of, right? And you've buried it and don't no one know about, but God knows about it and he can forgive you for it. And we have to start seeing ourselves through the word like God sees us.
So let me go back, man. First of all, great share, amazing share. Now I want to start digging a little deeper.
Mhm.
All right. Y'all that are waiting for me to get toxic, y'all know I wait towards the end to get toxic. Right now, we're really digging deep into the mindset. And I think as you were speaking, this wasn't even on my set of questions, man, but what made you so angry when you were young and coming up? Where did the anger come from?
Anger came from this guy who's supposed to be my father doesn't love me. What's wrong with me that he doesn't? Why does he not want to be a part of my life?
Mm.
Yeah, I got my parents, I got my grandparents, I got my mom, I got my grandparents, I got a great stepdad. But that hole, right? And that hole haunted me for a long, long, long time. And I really just dealt with it here in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. That's important, man. And so for those that are wondering, well, what does that have to do with leveling up? Me and Carlton was talking yesterday a little bit, and I said, man, I've learned in my life that no matter how far God wants to take you, sometimes if you're not healed, you'll self-sabotage.
Hmm.
Um, and it doesn't just impact you in romantic relationships,
Hmm.
but my relationship with my father, Carl, it made it hard for me to take instructions from men. Um, because I didn't have a man to instruct me. You ain't my
Hmm.
daddy. How dare you think you can instruct me?
Right.
And it made me extremely rebellious. It made me
Hmm.
extremely arrogant. And I got into a lot of fights when I was younger, um, because I had misguided aggression and I did not know how to properly process it. I want you to talk to the men or to the subject of men that have misguided aggression and they don't even know where it's coming from, but it's manifesting in their relationships as a father, in the community. But the reality is, like Carlton, you really just mad because you're trying to figure out why I'm not good enough for my father.
Exactly. I think it just goes to right. What happens a lot of times is we bury these things so deep in us, and we say, "Well, I don't care," but really you do care because you're telling yourself that you don't care, and what your brain is trying to do is trying to protect you because that's what it does, right? And so you bury this stuff deep down inside, but then when you start looking at your life and you start looking at the train wreck that was my life, just the marriage of carnage I left behind. And, and you say, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, why is my life like this? I want to be better. I know there's a better way.
Yeah.
I know I don't even fit in certain circles no more, right? Because I just have a different mindset. So let me figure out what's going on. And I would encourage any person, I don't care who you are, go to counseling, right? Because a lot of times we are angry at our parents, and I had to forgive them, right? But what I did learn is I can't hold nobody accountable for support or love when all they knew was survival.
Mm. You
So
got to unpack that. Wait. You got to unpack that, brother, because what you're saying is we sometimes can hold our parents or people that hurt us to the standard of love and support, but how can we expect them to love and support what all they knew how to do was survive? Come,
that's right, brother.
come on, unpack that some more for me, man. Tell me what that looks like.
Well, that looks like if you look at your parents in your life. So I was born in the '70s. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama. My granddaddy and them from Selma, Alabama, down in the country.
Yeah.
Ain't no telling what they went through in the '30s, the '40s, the '50s, and the '60s, right? And so now they're just dealing with. We're trying to survive. We're just trying to do better. We're trying to be better. We're trying to get you to a place where at least you can have a semblance of a decent life. So we're taking everything that we were taught, right, wrong, or indifferent, and we're using it to rear you. Now we don't know any better because this is what we've taught, and we come from an era where you respect people, you do what you're supposed to do, blah blah blah. So now they're just basically giving you everything that they got,
Right.
and so they haven't had the time to understand what is emotional intelligence, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to be self-aware, how to have self-management. They're just, if you did this, you're gonna be punished for it because this is what I did. I didn't tell you I loved you because my daddy never told me he loved me.
Mm.
He just pat me on the back. He never hugged. He never gave me a hug. He never spent time with me because nobody ever spent time with him. So you got to start like as me and I've gotten older, and me and my mom's getting a little older. We're starting to have like really deep
Yeah.
conversations where we're talking about things that she went through when she grew up. And as she was talking about some of the things that she dealt with as a child, I was like, Mama, you're holding my grandmama who's deceased, my granddaddy. You're trying to hold them accountable for something that they didn't even want to do.
They
So
didn't have the
it's
framework for it.
exactly, they didn't have the framework for it, so they can't teach you how to do something that they never have been taught. And so you're mad at somebody for trying not giving you something that they know nothing about. And you said, well, you should have known.
Yeah.
Well, how can you know if you're not taught?
Yeah.
If you come in from a toxic environment, how can you know? Yes, Karen.
Yeah.
So in essence, it's like, I'm mad at you. I won't forgive you for what you did to me. But the only thing when I get to the bottom and the root cause of it, I know you just did the best that you did. You knew how. You gave me all you knew how to give me
Yeah. So
because
part
you were
of so
just trying to
part
survive.
so part of listen, guys, do me a favor, share this out to as many people as you possibly can. I'm telling you, share this to the men in your life that you care about. Share this to your uncles, your brothers, your cousins. Tell them to get on this live right now. Man, what I'm hearing you say, is a part of leveling up. Number one is dealing with past traumas.
Mm-hmm.
The way you deal with past traumas is not just through prayer, supplication, ashatabayana mama,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to go to therapy as well,
Yeah,
right?
for me, that's what I do. I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I know this is what helped me, right? Because I grew up in a church of prayer in Atabasha, and I feel it in my shando.
Yeah,
But as soon as I left, I still was dealing with the same devils that I walked in the door with.
right.
I was in an emotional high at church, and then when you get out, you're still dealing with them same devils.
You still got to deal with it. So you have to be willing, guys. You talk about leveling up because let me just say this: in my life, man, I've done some extraordinary things. But if I'm honest with you guys on here, no matter what level I was on, because I hadn't dealt with the devils of my past, I was really self-sabotaging, and I really destroyed a lot of opportunities that the Lord gave me because I had not dealt with the things that as a man I feel like I ain't got to deal with it. It's not really impacting me, but the truth of the matter is it's 1000% impacting you. I asked him, I said, what made you so angry? Because especially when you have a parent that's not there, you go through abuse, or whatever the case may be, it's going to metastasize or materialize in some type of way. And whether it's, and you notice, he said, whether it's drinking, whether it's drugs, or whether it's, can I get to the yeah? I'm sorry, or whether it's yams. All right, you got. I'm sorry, I feel my toxic coming in, but
Let it come out, bro.
it's
Be
coming out.
you.
It's coming out. But my brother say, man, you got to deal with that because if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you. And the piece that I love, man, that you just said is that you got to sometimes pull yourself out of the situation and evaluate what your parents dealt with. Like they didn't come from the best environment. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have emotional intelligence. They gave you the best thing that they could give you. And more importantly, why would I hold you accountable for something that you did 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Right? When do we let that go and say, listen, in effort for me to level up, I'm going to release you. I'm going to love you, give you grace, patience, and then I'm going to level up. And what I learned from that process by deciding to not reciprocate what I experienced and don't give it to my kid, because here's the truth. The very thing that you're upset with your parents about, if you don't deal with it, you go dish it out to your kids yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You go give it to your kids, right?
Yeah.
Your wife can't understand why you mad, and you don't even know why you mad. And the reason you mad because you ain't dealt with that thing from the past. You
Yeah.
cannot level up if you still holding on to all that weight.
Yeah. You said a whole mouthful, right? Because if you're not careful, the sins of the father are gonna visit the son, and the son's son, and the son's son. So you got to get to the root cause. And if you notice, if you ever pulled up a root in your yard, sometimes when you pull that root up, it goes deep. It goes far. It might go 4 feet from where you start pulling. But a lot of time we pull the root up at the surface thinking we're okay. And we got to get deep and pull it all the way up. And sometimes when you're yanking it up, you tearing up a lot of things internally, like you're dealing with a lot of triggers, a lot of traumas. You're starting to rehash a lot of things. But in order for new construction to begin, you must start the demolition process.
So, Mr. I am 80/20, man, what was the pivot for you? You got shot. The Lord saved your life a couple of times, man, and now you done went to college. What was the pivot, and what did you pivot to?
The pivot for me was here in my marriage now. We were running into some issues, right? And me, I think, and I'm developed. I think I'm a pretty high level guy,
Right.
and I'm
Was it
like, nah,
because you
this
had
ain't working
was
for
it
me.
because you had muscles or you was light skinned? What made you
It's
feel like
both.
you was up? Anyway, keep
I'm
rolling.
light skinned. I don't do the light skin squint. I tell them I'm light skinned with dark skin
Okay,
tendencies.
I got you. I got you. All right, all right. So you
But
thought
nah,
you
it
was
was just dealing with that, right? And then I'm looking for things from her that she can't give me,
boy, you woo.
right?
Come on.
So a lot of times we look for things from our spouses or our significant others that void they can't fill, right? And we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That psychological, that safety, that esteem, all that, right? So that goes back to further down the line that I had to deal with that.
Yeah.
So at this point, I am tired of hitting my head against the wall. Life shouldn't be like this. I'm a pretty intelligent dude. God has blessed me to do pretty well. in aspects. I climbed the corporate ladder in sales, been very successful in sales. That was my career. I'm, also a hustler by trade. I'm always gonna go try to do something on the side to so all those things, but it was like I was building on quicksand. The
Mm.
foundation was not right. So I just one day, man, I just broke down in my car, bro. Just start crying. I'm like, Lord, what is it? What am I missing? What do you want me to see? Why can I not get this thing right? I don't want to be born and die, born to lose or die loser.
Mm.
It happens all the time. Like I am not going to be. I'm gonna tell you the most talented place on the world in the world. Do you know where that
The
is?
graveyard.
Exactly. And so I don't want to be one of those talented people that just took my talent from God and buried it in the ground. And so I was tired of that, right? And I was tired of like struggling with in my relationship. I was tired of just everything, right? And so what I ended up doing is like crying out to God. I started seeking help. And then there's another piece that I never knew, right? Because when I got shot, PTSD wasn't a big thing. I got shot like in 95. So this was not a big thing back then. That was not a buzzword, right? PTSD, anxiety. So I was also dealing with the remnants of that, and I did not know it.
Yeah.
So I had got to a point where I had to drink myself to sleep. I would get up, drinking. Or if I say I'm only gonna have one drink, next thing I know, I'm faded, and I'm just making decisions that just all over the place, just bad decisions, right? And so I just got tired of that, right? And I said, there's got to be something deeper within me for me to be moving like this. I'm too intelligent. God has given me too much sense to be moving like this. So that was the point when I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired of myself. So then, right, you get to the stages of accountability where you start to have some awareness of self, right? You start to accept what the problem is. You start to have some action behind it and say, I am going to change my narrative today.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is my biological father died. I never met him in my entire life. And I found out that dude had been dead a week before anybody found him. I did not want that same fate. I did not want to go down that same path. So I
Yeah.
said, I got to do something different in order to change my fate, to change my narrative. And finally, I made the adjustment from that point.
Let me ask you a question, man, because you kind of touched on it, man. How did all the unresolved trauma, how was it impacting your marriage?
Man, because again, you're looking for people to supply things that they're not meant to supply. Still looking for that validation, that affirmation, because I wasn't loved by him. And a person can only love you so much. They can only do so much for you. The rest you have to do yourself, right? And the
Yeah.
rest you have to understand that God loves you and that you're good enough to be loved. See, sometimes our issue is we don't think that we deserve to be loved. And no matter how hard somebody loves us, we don't see it.
It ain't enough.
Yep.
You know, I asked that question, man, because it really hits home, right? I'm divorced, and it's like divorce is like a death, right? And so it's
Hmm.
sometimes when you get out of something, you're able to reevaluate and look at how you showed up while you were in it.
Hmm.
And as I've been going through therapy, I understood that no matter what my wife did or any woman did, it was never going to be enough because I
Hmm.
was looking for external validation because of an internal crack, right?
Exactly.
So no matter what, how much they poured into me, because I was a broken glass, it was never going to be enough. And so that's when you find people going into alcoholism and drug addiction and then cheating and like you said, trying to sex themselves to death or whatever case, because you're always looking for this validation
Hmm.
when the reality is the validation that you need is not coming from the outside, but it's an inside job. It's something that you got to do within yourself. You will never level up until you begin to love yourself. And I love what you said, begin to see yourself the same way God sees you. And oftentimes that validation is not going to come from the outside. And until you get that validation internally, the truth is you can have a great marriage and you can destroy it. You
Yeah.
can destroy a lot of great things that God has in store for you because you be self-sabotaged.
Yep.
Does it make sense what I'm saying, bro?
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. I call them self-inflicted wounds, right? A lot of time we are dealing with a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and we're slowly bleeding out because we've shot ourselves, we cut ourselves, we've stabbed ourselves with life's issues. And like you say, no matter what your spouse does, it's never going to be enough until you see yourself as enough and know that you are more than enough and say, okay, you know what? No matter what this person does, I am validated. I affirm myself because God says I am who I am. That's why you have to, as you get the counseling, you got to start to get in that word, right? I call the Bible is not a book of rules; it's a book of principles. If you follow those principles, you can do the only thing you can do is win,
Yeah.
right? So just understand God has given you every affirmation you need in the world, right? And so once what happens is you begin to look at your spouse. And I used to tell God, well, she ain't doing this. She ain't doing that. She not doing this. And she don't meet this. God told me one day, he's like, you get yourself together, I'll take care of her. And when you got the right person, when you start working on yourself and you leave your spouse alone, either they're gonna lean your way or they're gonna get further away from you. But
Yeah.
most times, when you got the right person and they see that you're leveling up as far as who you are becoming as a person, right? And the other thing for me, Corey, is I didn't like myself.
Come on, man.
I lacked I lacked integrity, I lacked character, and I just didn't even like looking at myself in the mirror. Now I would look great to the public, but I did not have any integrity. I had no character. Like I'm gonna give you the definition of manhood, and I got this from my
Hold on,
PK, Pastor Ken.
before you
Yeah.
move, chat. Please
Yeah.
put this in the chat, because when you said that, it dropped in my spirit. The conflict of everybody liking you, but you not liking yourself.
Mm.
The,
Mm.
the conflict of everybody liking you, but you not liking yourself. And the reality is, the benefits that you get from people liking you, you destroy because you don't even like yourself. That's
Exactly.
that was a bar right there, brother.
Hmm.
Because how many people are watching this right now that you went through a season? As a matter of fact, I want to see who'll be honest. Put a one in the chat if you've ever been through a season in your life where nobody else knew it, but you didn't even really like yourself. You didn't like what you saw when you looked in the mirror. You didn't like who you were. You didn't like where you came from. That's. I'm gonna be the first one to put a one in the chat
Right.
because I've
One here too.
experienced that before,
One
where
here too.
everybody is applauding you and you on stages and all this other stuff. But when you get home and you take off that Superman cape and you look at the Clark Kent that you are, you really don't like yourself. And that's why it makes it so hard for people to love you because you don't
Hmm.
love yourself. You don't like yourself. And so, man, I love that, man. Keep going, bro. I just wanted to really highlight that. Ladies, I told y'all to get some men in this room that it was about to go down. Because how many brothers are vulnerable enough to be honest and say, man, I ain't even like me. So I know why she didn't. I didn't even like me. So I know why she didn't want to be around me. But I didn't have enough courage to tell
Hmm.
her. Instead, I just blamed her and looked at all of the stuff she wasn't doing. But when she wasn't around, the reality is she was right, and I didn't even like myself.
Exactly.
Come on, you got
Right.
it, man.
How you expect somebody to love you when you don't love yourself? See what we have to understand. We only live life at the level we see through these lenses we have. We can only see God at the level that our level of faith. So if we don't have enough faith in ourselves to love ourselves, how do you expect God to work in any capacity for you? Because you're limiting his capabilities, and he will not force himself on you at any given point. He's not going to allow you to limit who he is because he's omnipotent, omnipresent, he's all seeing, all knowing. So when you're just thinking, I don't like myself, I'm gonna self-sabotage. I'm gonna do all these things that put me in a space where I'm headed for destruction.
Yeah, yeah,
And nobody, like you said, wants to be around you. Nobody can stand you, and you wondering why. Like you ever seen those guys that they just wild out and they just seem to be just going 100 miles an hour straight towards the retaining wall?
yeah,
It's because they don't like themselves, right? And
yeah,
they got this thing in their mind that they got to present this facade to the world
yeah,
so that they can feel a little bit better about themselves. But when you go back home and the lights go out, and you laying in your bed at night and you can't go to sleep, and you got a bottle of alcohol by the bed, and you drinking yourself into oblivion. But when you wake up the next day, it's the same thing
Yeah. Yeah. No,
until
that's
you
real.
deal with it.
Whew. That's hey, listen, man. That's a level of vulnerability, man, that I think is a strength, and I appreciate that. So, did life get better for you when you started liking and loving yourself?
Most definitely. Most
Tell me about
definitely.
that process. What did that look
That
like?
process for me was like really leaning into the creator and start to see myself as he saw me. I get up every morning now. I'm doing personal development, right? I'm gonna listen to the word. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna read my Bible. That's the first hour of the day, right? 20 minutes of reading the word, 20 minutes of prayer, 20 minutes of visualization, spiritual visualization, or listening to something that is uplifting, right? I don't look at my phone. I don't take I don't take any calls. I give that hour to God, right? So I set the tone for my day. You have to be intentional about where you want to go and what you want to
Right.
become,
Right.
right? Here's the thing: we want to get it and then become it. You have to be it, then you get it. Get
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So
It's especially if you want to maintain it.
exactly, because there's levels to success, right? There's attaining, there's retaining, and then there's staying at that level, right? Some
Yeah.
things we retain for only a little while, but when you get to a level where you can sustain success, you're at a place where you can really become a resource and an asset to the kingdom. And that's my ultimate goal, is to be a resource and an asset to the kingdom, because there's no way I went through all I went through, self-inflicted, the enemy, life, to just end up and not do anything positive on this world. So it's spending time with God, reading, working out, right? Doing something to like soul care and self-care, right? Soul care is the word, the feeding, praying, getting in tune with God, having that relationship with him. And then self-care is when I am doing the things to take care of myself so I can become the best version of me. Therapy, working out, eating healthy, right? That's where the 80-20 comes, right? 80% nutrition, 20% fitness. Like a lot of times we try to outwork a bad diet mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Okay.
And you cannot outwork a bad diet. You can't feed yourself junk and think you're going to get results.
Mm.
You got to watch the eye gate, you got to watch the ear gate, you got to watch the mouth gate. You got to watch what you let come in it, because the more that you do that, the more solid you become in life, and you'll be able to withstand life's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, because now you got a relationship with God. You're at your optimal, you feel your best. Now you can move through life and nothing can knock you off your post.
So you said I want to make sure I'm hearing you right, man. So you said 80 between 80% nutrition, 80% diet, 20% working out.
Right.
It's about your intake. Intake is going to dictate your output. So you
Exactly.
started
Exactly.
switching up your intake. You started switching up how you saw yourself. Therefore, you
Hmm.
started switching up how you start showing up. Right.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
one of the keys to leveling up, for those that are taking notes, my man said, listen, no matter where you've been, what you've been through, the reality is there's going to come a season when you got to make a decision.
Hmm.
And when that trauma starts to impact your life, you need to pray. You need to get in therapy. All right. And then you got to make a decision. And then once you make that decision, you can't keep eating the same stuff that you was eating in the past, trying to be better in the future. Now, what
Nope.
about yams? Is yams good? Okay, never mind. We'll talk.
Yam's good for you. I love
Yams
yams.
good.
Yeah.
What you like the
I
okay.
like
The
my
big
wife's
yams are,
yams.
oh, wait, what? I was talking about potatoes, man. What is you
I'm
talking
talking about
about?
potatoes too.
Yeah. You got to have a good diet of yams in your life, fellas. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You get you
Yams is
some
good
good,
for you.
you get you some good yams, you won't be so angry.
Hey, yams is a good complex carbohydrate. There's good
Absolutely. And I'm talking
carbs and
about,
there are bad carbs. Remember
that's
that.
right. You get you some good yams in your life, brother. So, me and you got a chance to meet, guys. I told y'all we get ready to shift into the toxic hour. Y'all knew it was coming. He knew it was coming. But listen, so we got a chance to connect at a conference that we spoke at.
Mhm.
Um, and it's fascinating how both of us have lived through lives of trauma, overcome a lot of stuff, and decided, hey, man, I'm not just going to take the wisdom that I got and utilize it for me, but I'm gonna be a blessing to other people. Man, what got you? What got you into speaking on stages, man, and sharing your story? Where did that come from? Because some folks like to be selfish and be like, hey, I'm in it for me. You like, I'm gonna bless these other people. Talk to me about that.
So just a quiet kept secret. After I got shot, I actually have a preaching license right back here. So I was in ministry and I preached for several years. I was in a more of a legalistic situation when I got shot, and I really didn't understand it. It was more so kind of a traumatic come to Jesus
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
But I just knew it was something different and something better, a better way to live for God.
yeah,
So I just kind of stepped away from that, kind of got my faith, like my own relationship with God, began to understand and search the word for myself. And I began to understand that the Bible says you're overcome by the word of your testimony, right? So every one of us on this call, right, we have a sphere of influence. And God has placed us in that circle, whether it be a small circle, a big circle, whatever the circle. But I always like helping people, whether it was fitness, like just giving good advice, like just trying. I want to see people win,
right on.
because my thing is you can't take anything that belonged to me, so I'm going to share everything I got.
Mm,
Right? My motto is everybody eats, B, and that's real, because what God has for me, that's for me. There's nothing I can get from Cory L. Hughes that God got for Cory Hughes.
that's right.
So I just started trying to share things with people, and people always say, "Man, you have a gift for this." Right. And so I learned how to frame it. I learned how to, hone it in, kind of sharpen my skill set. And then before I got laid off from my last job last year, God told me to do some things. I started a men's group. It's called Mindset U, where we go over bi-weekly. We do a Bible study. Weekly, we do prayer on Tuesday mornings. And so I started doing what God told me to do, right? So even in this season of life, as God has me on the potter's wheel, and it's not a fun season, right?
Uh,
Because like I was a sales director for the West region for my company, with a sales budget of about 67 million.
mm,
And so I was doing well, things are well, life's going well. But as God began to remove things and begin to prune me, and he's like, you got to go forth.
yeah,
He's like, you went forth before, but it ain't like I wanted you. You're not going to leave this earth and not use that gift that I've given you. And if you
yeah,
don't use the gift, I'm going to take you off this earth.
yeah. Man, I just right before I jumped on here with you, man, I had the fortunate opportunity to be on a Zoom with the CEO of Forbes company. I can't think of his name, but big shout out to Cheryl Action Jackson, who gave me an invite. And one of the things he said, Carlton, I thought he said a couple of things that was powerful. He said, number one, oftentimes when God shuts one door, understand that it's because he's pivoting you to a bigger door.
Hmm.
And it may feel like a downgrade for a season, but sometimes it's a downgrade in an effort for you to be upgraded.
Right.
Um, then the second thing he said that, and it's amazing that he is now the CEO of Forbes company. And he said that he used to sit in rooms and he didn't trust his voice.
Hmm.
He didn't feel like his voice mattered. He didn't feel like that. When he spoke, the people listened. And he said at some point he had to find the power in his own
Hmm.
voice. And once he found the power in his own voice, that's when things began to happen for him. And so, man, I'm grateful that you found the power in your voice. I'm grateful, man, that you made a decision that, in spite of me not being at this company, now it gives me opportunity to actually do what I was created to do. And God's been blessing you, man. I'm seeing you speaking all over the place, man. You were speaking before me, had to rock the house and all that good stuff, man. And so, man, I see you doing your thing, man. Yeah, Mike Federally, baby. I think that's his name. Okay. I think that's who it was, Chat. Yeah, he's the CEO of Forbes. So yes, thank you so much, Chat. But man, you've been doing your thing, man. Let me ask you another question, man, before we get ready to wrap it up, because I feel my toxic anointing coming on. Some of my toxic friends on here. What's up, Cash Flow Diary? And listen, guys, if you guys have any questions for Carlton, man, listen, put it in the chat. You got any questions, put it in the chat, something you want to know, a question that you want to ask your husband, but you're afraid to ask your husband, you can ask us. And some of y'all may not have a man, so you ain't got a man to ask. So ask
Right.
us. He can't be your man, and I can't either, but we can be the voice.
We can be the voice of
We can be
reason.
the See, the toxic was just about to take over. But what's next for you? What you got? What do you have? What's next for you in this season of leveling up?
What's next for me, man, is continuing to build this blueprint that God is laying out for me as I move step by step. So it's going to continue to move into like corporate spaces, speaking on leadership, because I've been in leadership since I was 21 years old. In the military, I got promoted to E5, and I literally had a team of 10.
Uh,
So I've led people my entire life. So teaching people leadership, right, and the emotional intelligence that comes with leadership. And so that's something big to me, is like us as men starting to move with emotional intelligence. So if we start to move with emotional intelligence, you'll start to see not so many men going to prison. You start to see so many men not making mistakes. You start to see so many men saving their families
uh,
because they're thinking, they have the self-awareness, they can manage themselves. And once you do that, everything else falls into place. So working with men, right? We're getting ready to put on a conference that you'll be speaking at in March of
let's
2025.
go.
It's called
Let's go.
it's called the Genesis and Renaissance of Manhood. So if I were to say, it'd be like a mini vol, but we're gonna be different. We're gonna do a little different, but it's same concept for men, right? We're gonna try to teach and reach our fellas, because if we don't get back in the leadership spot, nothing against my sisters that have to do it, right? You have to do what you have to do, but we were created to lead. We need to start leading. So teaching leadership skills to young men, to aged men that may not know anything about it. I'm starting a mentorship group. It's going to be a high level group coaching platform for people that want to level up, like we're talking about. And it's going to deal with what we just talked about, right? Spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, just a totality, a 360 view of your health, from your spiritual man to your natural man to everything, right? Because when you are at your highest level of self, you're at your highest form in your spirit man. Now you can begin to create and make the moves that God has designed you to be. Because I'm gonna say this, and I'll turn it back over to you. I'm a big proponent of Genesis 1:28. I believe that if we as men, we start to be more, we begin to be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and have dominion over ourselves, everything else falls in place, right? So just teaching those concepts, and just, they're applicable in everything, bro.
Yeah.
It ain't like I can only use this in church.
Yeah.
No, use this in your life, and watch how your life begins to level up,
Yeah.
right? When you begin to subdue yourself, when you begin to lead yourself and lead your family, right? A lot of times we want people want to be leaders, but they don't even know how to follow. You're not committed to anything. So how can you expect somebody to follow you when you're not committed to anything?
But some of these brothers, they be following the yams. That's why they can't lead, because the yams is leading them.
We got deliverance ministry from the yams. Come get delivered.
Some of, some of these brothers can't they can't stand up because they too busy laying down with the yams.
But you know what? I'll tell you this, Corey, and this is what I teach my sons. I have twin sons. One's in the military in
So
Japan. He's
hold on
24.
before you say that, because funny thing is we connected, because my next question for you is, I wanted to ask you if you have children, and what are some of the things that you want to give your children based upon what you've learned through your own personal experience, wisdom. What do you want to transfer to your kids? You got it.
Yes. So I want to transfer the intellectual property of what we're talking about to my kids, right? So what I teach my son, right? You work on you in your 20s. They'll be there in your 50s and 60s. Trust and believe that. If you become valuable, they will find you.
And in your
So
40s.
make your decision. I always teach my sons, make your decision based on where you want to be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. Don't make your decisions like me when I was younger based on the emotion and the feeling I had in that moment.
So
So we,
you was chasing the yams too.
oh, bro, come on, bro. Come on, man. I was in the military, young cat, man. Was in Germany, been all over the world,
Yeah,
man. So you know how we did, man. And then especially when you're dealing with those triggers those traumas that you never, like, that's where my solace was.
boy. Man, hey, listen, man, I wish we had so much more time, because what you just said, man, sometimes as men, we can try to use sex to anesthetize our pain, right? And we use sex when we don't feel good about ourselves. We go have sex with this woman and we wait for her to tell us how good it was so we can feel good about ourselves in the moment. And I love that you told your son that, because you know what, the way I tell my son is, listen, man, get to the chasing the money, okay? Chase the money, because if you chase the money, you'll never lose a woman. But if you chasing women, you can always lose money. Okay?
Exactly.
And as long as you got that bag, you can have whichever one of these boosty butts you want. You got to pick it and lift it up.
Right, right. Right. But see, like you said, I teach my son, make yourself valuable, right? In what it is you do, and chase your purpose.
Come
And
on.
the right woman will fall in line with your
That's so
purpose.
good, bro.
So like now I have a purpose partner, right? She understands where I'm going. She understands what God is doing. And she supports me. She's my CFO. She's my chief procurement officer. She cold, right? I call her director
Come
babe.
on.
But when you do those things, right? Like if my son listens to what I'm telling him now, when he looks back at his life 15 years from now, he gonna be like, bruh, thank you, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gave me the game. Don't chase the skirt, chase the purpose.
Don't chase the skirt, chase the purse. You tell him to come. You tell him to come sit with Uncle Cory, and I'm gonna give him the other version of it. That if you get to this, if you
I would,
get to the
hey,
check,
Uncle.
you can have whatever chick you want, boy. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Hey,
Anyway, man. No, listen, man.
boy, you crazy, boy, but I love it, man. That's that this life is about laughing, about being fun, and just being real, right? You're being yourself, and that's the other thing I tell my son: be your authentic self.
Come on.
Don't be anybody else. There's a lot of people you see and you want to imitate,
Yeah.
but again, you only see what they post. You don't see who they are.
Yeah.
A
That's
lot
real,
of
bro.
people are train wrecks and they're losers in real life, but they will post and tell you that they are winners on the gram.
Man, man. Boy, listen, man. I gotta stop because you just said something so powerful, bro. Do you know the most liberating thing is to give yourself permission to be yourself? Now it goes back to liking who you are. But once you begin to like who you are and you realize that you are marvelously made, and you give yourself the permission just to be who you are and recognize that everybody's not. This is a level up lesson. You can never level up trying to be an imitator. You can never level up trying to be a cookie cutter version of somebody else. But the moment you step into the fullness of who you are, with all your failures, all of your mistakes, with all your wisdom, and say, man, this is who I am, that's the person that God begins to bless. That's the person that God begins to elevate. That's the person that God says, now I can trust you because you're no longer performing, but you're moving into purpose. And so for me, dog, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just started to embrace myself, man, and say, this is me. I love people. I love God. I'm gonna have fun. If you too religious, you're gonna think I'm not saved. If you're too in the streets, you're gonna think I'm an angel. And I'm just me. I'm just me, and I want to see people win. And what drew me to you, bro, is that you are you, and you're very authentic and you're very real. And I think that's the reason that you're leveling up. That's the reason that God has separated you and getting ready to use you to bless so many people. Man, I see you speaking on corporate stages and all kind of stuff, man. I'm committing to you that if an opportunity comes, I'm telling them, go holler at my brother, man. Go holler at my boy, man. He the man. And that's what brotherhood is about, right?
That's what it's about,
And it's
right?
no competition. It's collaboration. Me and you both said, listen, we ain't got to be on their stage. Let's just build a stage together.
Exactly, right. And then, see, that's the problem. We often look at people ahead of us and we idolize who they are instead of looking laterally and saying, oh, let's build together.
Come on.
Because the person on the stage, in most cases, you don't know who they are. You don't know the life they live. And again, you don't know how authentic they are. But I know you. I know my other partners. I know who they are. I know how they live. So now I've hitched myself to be equally yoked with the right people, and then we can begin to build.
Yeah.
And when we do that, right, currency, the community is really currency.
Come on.
So when you get in the right community, you're in places where people start to put your name in rooms like, I can't do this, but I know somebody who can.
Come on.
Go, hey, go kill it, bro.
Yeah.
And that's the only people I want to be around, right? I don't want to be around anybody who envies my gift because you don't know my crushing. You don't know what I've been through to get what I got.
Come
And I
on,
don't know
man.
what you went through to get where you are. So I don't
Mm.
want anything that
Yeah,
belongs to you.
yeah. And part of what you just said, man, you God, man, that's part of what you just said, man, is not knowing my crushing. I love that. Bishop Jakes wrote a book called The Crushing, and that book, man, really changed my life. And I understood that in order sometimes to get the greatest thing out of you, God will allow life to squeeze you. And
Hmm.
that's why this level of series is so important, because a lot of times they see us on the stages, but they don't know what we've been through behind the scenes, right? This man just said, man, I ran a company, I was a sales director, we had a $67 million budget, but the reality is my father wasn't in my life and I was angry. I've been shot, I've been a whole bunch of things, man, but yet I was able to pivot and level up. This is the reason I wanted to bring this, because um it looked good, but they
Hmm.
don't understand that in effort to get to the next level, man, you're gonna go through some hell. As a
Right.
matter of fact, the Bible says that if you can't suffer with me, you can't reign with me. And we've gone through the suffering and we come out and we smile anyway, and we laugh anyway, and we give God the praise. And this is the reason that God can trust us with leveling up.
Hey, man, you got to understand pressure is a privilege.
Yo, pressure, chat, put that in. Somebody put that in the comments for me. Pressure, say it again.
Pressure is a privilege.
It's a privilege. I like that. Come on, unpack that for me.
So God is not going to apply any pressure to you if there's nothing in you to get out. You have to be crushed in order to get oil. A
Mm.
diamond is
Whoa,
made in
whoa, whoa, whoa,
extreme heat.
whoa, 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 whoa. You just, boy, let me write that down. He ain't squeezing on you unless he knows it's something he can get out of you.
Hmm.
So are you saying that pressure from heaven is really more heaven approving you,
Hmm.
because I'm only putting pressure on those that I know I can get something out of.
Hmm.
That's okay. Keep going. Keep cooking.
Look,
Pressure is a privilege. I
see,
like that.
here's the thing we often forget. God already knows our talents. He already knows our gifts. He wants our availability. He knows what
Mm.
he put in us. He knows what we can become, but it's up to us to become available for it. So again, pressure is a privilege. There, you don't get a diamond unless it's been in extreme heat and buried deep, deep, deep under the surface. Because at first it's just what, a block of coal.
Yeah.
So a grape is crushed in order to get wine. So you have to go through the crushing. You have to go through the seasons in order to be tried and tested and approved. Faith ain't faith unless it's tested.
Boy.
You can say you have faith all day until you've been tested and you don't know which way to turn. You don't know how you're going to pay your bill. You don't know what you're going to do.
Mm.
That's when you say, now that's when the real faith kicks in. God, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you. Whichever way you take me, I trust you
Yeah.
because I know you're going to come through.
That's what's
And I tell you,
up.
in this season of my life, God has come through at every
Everyone.
instance. And if you haven't looked back over your life, I guarantee you, anybody on this call, if you look over your life, every time you didn't think you were going to make it through a situation, God came through in his timing. And so that's who God is. And God is going to take you through that so you will be able to withstand, right? Because once you get to the places where you're supposed to go, the naysayers are coming, the haters are coming, everything going to come at you because you're successful
Mm.
and you're in a place that a lot of people envy. So now they're going to start to tear you down. You got to even remember this, bro. Even Jesus' own brothers doubted who he was.
Yeah. Come on, man.
And so he had to go through what he went through to show them, I am the Messiah. So people are going to doubt who you are. They're going to doubt the gift that God gave you. They're going to doubt. I tell people all the time, it wasn't a Zoom call. It wasn't a conference call. It was a call. It was a call between me and God gave me marching orders, and I got to go through with them. So when you're going through these things and you don't see your way, know that it's not going to last always. And there's a method to God's madness. Look at
Mm.
it this way: if you knew, just look at Joseph. If God would have told Joseph, "I'm going to take you to the pit, to the prison, then I'm going to put you in the palace." You think Joseph would have wanted that? He been like, nah, God, what you got back there for me? You got another route?
Right.
I want another route. So God is going to take you the route that he needs to take you in order to make you strong enough to withstand where you need to go, and to make sure that you have the integrity to get, once you get there, you'll be able to stay there.
Yeah.
Because if he gives it to us too quick, and we've not been tried, and we've not been tested, and we don't have character, and we don't have integrity, and we still are dealing with the traumas and the triggers, the enemy's gonna send everything that you like at you. Like I got a partner, man, and I'm not gonna call no names. Like he's starting to level up in his business. Things are going well, and guess what happens? The thing that he likes, that he don't need to be connected to right now, comes back in his life.
Some yams?
So if you're not delivered from the yams, if you're not delivered from your vices, if you're not delivered from your we're looking at, look, hey, bro, I don't even want to get into this, but we're looking at a classic example of somebody who had the world at his hands, but he couldn't get delivered from the yams and his proclivities.
Right.
And so
You talking
if
about
you're
you talking
not,
about
if you're
brother
not
baby oil.
careful, yeah,
Brother baby oil?
yeah, a bunch of baby oil.
That's
So if you're not careful, you'll be materially materially rich by world standards, and you'll be spiritually bankrupt.
man, that's so good, man. Now I got listen, we got about 5 minutes. I don't think I've been toxic enough, so I got one question for you,
Uh-huh.
man. First of all, tell them what they matter of fact, will you type your handle
Mhm.
into the chat for me so they can follow y'all. Y'all put a fire emoji in the chat if this has been good. Man, this brother been dropping some jewels, man, and it was so good. I couldn't be as toxic as I wanted to be because the brother's he's just a solid brother, man, with a good message and a great story and a wealth of wisdom, and he be doing Bible studies and stuff, and so I can't really
Hey, be
just go there, man.
yourself, bro.
Why
Be
do you think?
yourself.
Why you think? Okay, let me ask you a question. Can you tell me? You said something about the diamond and the pressure. What did you say? You got to go. What did you tell me about it again? About the diamond and pressure?
You got to, yeah, like, so a diamond is made is buried way beneath the surface under extreme heat and under extreme pressure to become a diamond,
Underneath the surface, extreme pressure.
and extreme heat.
So, do you think the reason some of these men can't get their women to be diamond because maybe they ain't going deep enough? No,
Hey,
I'm
that's
just
between
saying,
them and a
maybe
man. You
if
know
we
what I'm
if we
saying?
thinking about diamonds and you want your woman to be a diamond, maybe you ain't putting enough pressure going deep enough. That's probably what it is. But anyway, I'm sorry, Sophia. Hey, Sophia. I just had to ask the question. I just wasn't sure. I'm trying to help the brothers out. Um, what you say, Carl? What
Boy, you're a fool, boy. You're a fool, but I love it, bro.
so brothers, if you want your woman to be a diamond, got to go deeper.
Hey, yo, they said bye, Cory.
They they already know when I get like this, they tell me it's time for me to go. All right, man. So what last final question. And then Jay Massey, I gotta get you on. Jay Massey, shoot me an inbox. Let me get your number, man. This is another brother doing extremely well, multi-millionaire. He got a story to tell as well. Why do you think all of these women cheating, man?
Honestly, the women cheating, because what you say, 68% of them
She
last
said
night.
68%. That means 68% of the daughters on this live right now are daughters of Lilith. They around here cheating.
You got to understand, when people cheat, it ain't about you; it's about them, right? So it's a lot of us that are unhealed. It's a lot of us that are hurting. It's a lot of us that have not dealt with daddy issues, mama issues, abandonment issues. So we look for solace in the things that we, enjoy, or we think we're good at, right? So a lot of times, the way the enemy can get us off course is through childhood trauma, which then turns into missing the mark in life,
Mm,
because we've been traumatized, and now we, like you say, we try to anesthetize, and we start doing things that we feel make us feel good in the moment.
right.
And people just don't have integrity and character no more, right? It's the way society moves. Is It's almost like you lame if you love your husband or your wife. You lame if you're not faithful. You lame if you ain't doing what I'm doing. But that's not manhood to me, right?
Right.
For me, manhood is one who, and I got this from Pastor Ken, your boy too, and I love it, so I take it and I steal it. But I give him a little credit for it. It's one who lives courageously, one who accepts responsibility, one who rejects passivity, and one who invests eternally. So living courageously, accepting responsibility, rejecting passivity, and investing eternally. Like when you start thinking about those four notches of manhood, it helps you make the right decisions. And for any other woman that's out here doing that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times you say you want that good man, but you're not a good woman. You're not able to withstand the pressures of marriage because look, the dating phase is fun, but when life happens with you and your spouse, and you got bills and you got issues and you got things coming up, now it's not about the emotion, right? They often say that feelings aren't facts, right? Now you're getting to the matter of the heart where you have to make a choice and say, I'm gonna get up today. I'm gonna do right by this person. I made a covenant with them. I'm gonna stand by my word because I have character. It's easy to walk out the door and do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
But I'm one of them people, Corey. I was telling my youngest daughter this yesterday. We were talking to her about something. I'm one of them people that God don't let get away with anything.
Me either, man. I can't. He be
Every
letting me
time I
out.
do anything crooked or underhanded, God pulled the cover off me. So I don't even try it
Yeah.
no more. I just ain't
Yeah.
gonna play with God.
So, man,
That's just me.
I want to say this real quick. I'm on Clubhouse a lot, and I just pulled a move on you. But I only pulled the move because I knew what you was gonna do. And I'm gonna tell you, man, you represent the type of manhood that I can appreciate. I want y'all to notice why I asked him why women cheat so much, and he navigated back to challenging men to be men. Because the reality is, I don't really want to talk about what women do. I want to challenge men to be men. And this is why me and this brother connect, because at the end of the day, if we are not leaders and leading appropriately and properly, then we shouldn't be worried about what they're doing. If we step up, if we handle our business, if we as men take that manhood mantle that God gave us to be the leaders, then at the end of the day, we just can be accountable for ourselves, and then we stop blaming the women. I can't stand talking to men that always make about what the women did this and the women did. Shut up, nigga. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do
Well,
love
hey,
you.
that goes back to, and I know we're getting ready to get off, but so one of my favorite books is 21 Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And so there's one law called the law of the lid.
Mm,
You can't lead anybody no higher than you're able to lead yourself.
right,
So if you lead at a 3, she gonna be at a 2.
right.
So if you want your woman to elevate, you elevate yourself to that 10, that 11, that 12, and then that's gonna pull her up. And if she doesn't come up, then that means that's the wrong person. You didn't get the suitable mate. You got the person you wanted or you picked, and God tried to tell you no, but you's like, I gotta have her. So now you got
You throw her back to the
her.
pond. That's what you
Send her
got to
back to
do.
the streets.
Put her back in the streets. Give her a one-way ticket back to the avenue. All right, man. Sophia, come on, preach. All right, man. Y'all, we get ready to roll, man. Y'all do me a favor, man. Y'all know we're going to have a good time wherever I'm at. Y'all put a fire emoji in the chat if y'all enjoyed this. Carlton, man, I appreciate you, brother. I love what you're doing, man. I love to hear your story. Um, when me and this brother talk, we hold each other accountable. He talks about integrity. We didn't get into it much, but I think I'm going to come back and do a part 2 with you because I want to talk about that cheating thing, right? Because
Hmm.
I think that less men would cheat if they realized that cheating wasn't a upgrade to their manhood,
Mm-mm.
right? Because at some point you feel like the more women I can get, the more I can do, the more I can get. But that's not it. To me, manhood is being responsible and loving one woman and loving your family and doing what you're doing right now, man. So I want to take a little bit of our private conversations and put them on the platform and make it
For
public.
sure. For sure. For sure.
And so that's extremely important. Anyway,
Let me
man,
say
any
this
final
real
words?
quick, Corey.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
When you cheat 9 times out of 10, you cheating with a downgrade. They just listen to the things that you complained about, and they do the things that you want for a season.
Yeah.
But then when you get her, there goes that 80%, right? You're gonna give away 80% of your needs for that 20% that you ain't getting. And then when you stuck with it, Like,
Well,
brah.
throat goats get about 30%. If they're a throat goat, I'm
But let's get off
let's get
this.
up. Okay.
Get off this
All
line.
right. Listen, y'all. It's been real. It's been shut up, Jim. It's been real,
Bro,
y'all.
you
Man, I she
crazy,
said good
bro.
night. I appreciate you calling,
I
man. Much love
appreciate
to
you.
y'all.
Hey, you coming to the Genesis podcast too? We're gonna continue the discussion on the Genesis
About
podcast, and then we'll
about
continue
throat
this here.
goats or
Whatever you want to talk about, you're gonna be the guest.
okay,
I'm gonna ask the questions.
listen. Yeah, okay. Praise the Lord. All right. Mark Quill ain't nobody asked you nothing to my so sad. Y'all, make sure y'all follow him. That's his link right there. Make sure y'all follow Carlton, man. He got some great things going on. Carlton, man, much love to you, man. Tell your family I said I appreciate them for allowing us to borrow you for about an hour and 20 minutes, man. And we'll tap in a little bit later, brother.
I
All right? Hey,
appreciate you,
man,
brother. Much
much love
love,
to you, fam.
respect.
Respect. All right, y'all. All right, man. So that's part 2 down. Listen, it was Monica Morton last night. My boy Carlton came on tonight, man. And that brother, he's just a good dude. He's just a good, solid brother, man. And I appreciate men like that, that are vulnerable and, not afraid to admit, hey, I hadn't been perfect. I made some bad decisions, but I didn't live in those decisions. I say it all the time, man. Failure does not have to be fatal. All you got to do is make a decision to pick yourself up and go to the next level. Man, I appreciate y'all for joining the Level Up series. Next up, I got my dog in the building, Anthony O'Neal, on Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. My good, clean brother Anthony O'Neal is coming on, so y'all know if we toxic on Clubhouse, y'all know we finna take it up on Instagram Live. And of course, we gonna talk about his ascension, the success he's had. Got one of the top podcasts in the country. When he comes on, I'm gonna sit down because he's a little shorter, so I don't want to make him feel too. I don't want to make him feel too, Anthony O'Neal is short. Anthony, if you're watching this, you're short. I'm going to sit down and make you feel better so we can be on the same level. Y'all tell him I said that. Oh, Lord. It's going to be super toxic. It's going to be super toxic. Matter of fact, ping AO in here, tell him I said that I'm going to sit down so we can be the same height, so we can have a good conversation, so we can talk about leveling up. I don't want to have a level up conversation with AO standing over him. So I'm going to sit down. Anyway, Chad, thank you so much for being an amazing moderator. Y'all, listen, I'm going to go put this in the lab. I'm going to cut it up, post some stuff. But listen, I will see you guys next week right here on the Level Up series, Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's about to go down. All right.